Got the phone call, and one of my friends was like, your baby is laying in the street and she's gone.
A family left questioning justice as a woman convicted of killing a mother of 8 could spend just 4 years in prison. They blame the fact that she was out of custody in the first place without having to post bail for their loved one's death. And good evening to you. Thank you for joining us at 6. I'm Brian Loftus.
I'm Denise Valdez. First, police arrested that woman for beating a man with a pole. Then a judge released her without her having to post bail.
Within weeks, she claimed 2 more victims nearly exactly the same way, but one didn't get up from the pavement. Only on 8 News Now, investigator David Charnes looking at how this happened and why this family says there's no justice. David?
Right, Denise, we've all heard of bail. You may have had to pay it. It's essentially a down payment requiring a person to return to court. Judges don't set bail in every case, and here in Nevada, a bail bondsman can front your bail if you put up 15%. But Vanessa Harvey didn't have to do that because a judge reduced her bail to 0, setting her free before she beat a mother of 8 to death.
I've got one down on the ground.
A Las Vegas Metro police officer's camera records as he races to help a woman bleeding on the sidewalk.
It's going to be a GSW to the head.
Her injuries so bad, the officer thinks she was shot.
Second meal's down in the parking lot.
Another victim bleeding nearby and clinging to life.
I knew my baby didn't have a chance, period.
Rosalind Byron is Mashika Goodjoint's aunt.
My baby would bring her kids to this park.
She and Goodjoint's cousin, all part of a big family, not just by blood, but the community here in the historic West Side.
She loved her 89106 area. No matter if I said, baby, do you want to move? Mom, I'm not moving from my 89106 area.
But a night in 89106 would later kill the mom of 8.
My baby walked around, even though she didn't have much herself, but she walked around, she fed her peoples on the streets.
It's November 8th, 2021, and that officer's camera records as he races to what would be Goodjoint's murder scene.
GSW, gotta be, dude.
Minutes after arriving, police find Goodjoint and that man on the ground. And a woman.
Are you hurt?
No, she's got the pole, dude.
Holding the murder weapon.
You don't have a name?
Her name is Vanessa Harvey, and she was just in police custody.
Was your reaction, you gotta be kidding me?
Yeah.
Harvey.
2 weeks before Goodjoint's death, a police officer arrests Harvey for beating a man with a pole. Police finding the metal object in a car she was living in.
Vanessa Harvey.
Harvey refused to come to court from jail for her probable cause hearing on a charge of battery resulting in substantial bodily harm. A judge setting bail at $5,000. This pretrial risk assessment the 8 News Now investigators obtained, showing her as a moderate risk.
That score was a 4.
The paper also shows no failures to appear. During a court hearing several days later, Judge Diana Sullivan released Harvey without having her post bail, citing the factors on the form and Harvey's statements that the attack may have been in self-defense. In a statement to the 8 News Now investigators, Sullivan says prosecutors did not argue for her to set bail, nor could Harvey afford it. But records show Harvey did miss court just a year before on a battery charge. Records show she hit a 7-year-old, a judge later sentencing her to several months in jail.
There's plenty of room for these offenders.
Assistant Sheriff Jim Seebach, who recently retired from Metro, says laws the legislature passed lowering bail and judges' interpretation of them are making officers' jobs difficult.
It does get frustrating, though, when something like that occurs because we did our job and now that person is out again.
In Harvey's case, police arrested her for battery on October 23rd. By November 8th, she was in custody for murder. Over the course of 2 weeks, 3 people battered with a pole, 1 dead.
What the community might not be aware of is how common it is for someone to be arrested for a violent crime and then be let out, sometimes the next day, sometimes just a matter of a few days.
Seebach cites a 30% vacancy rate at the Clark County Detention Center, adding on average 50 people in Metro's jurisdiction who are on house arrest for murder. While no one, including judges, can predict the future, Seebach says,
and if that person is out and reoffends, and then we're going to be right there again to take that person into custody.
The same thing happened with a different defendant this past February. battery. After allegedly threatening another bus passenger with a knife, police arrested 59-year-old Aaron Cole. They'd soon learn Cole served 23 years in a Texas prison for attempted murder. But a few days later, a judge released Cole without him having to pay bail. Cole's pretrial risk assessment deeming him low risk. Within 10 days, he was in jail, accused of stabbing a bus passenger to death.
What I would hope is in these proceedings that the judges, who are ultimately the ones responsible for making sure people are able to stay in custody based on what we put forward, are looking at the totality of the circumstances and not just one tool.
We couldn't even give her a decent burial because of the way my baby looked.
Harvey would take a plea deal, putting her in prison for 4 to 10 years.
Actually, there's no justice in this case. And to see the smile that she had on her face, the smirk that she had on her face, she had no remorse at all.
Goodjoin's family now left to question what justice they received and what the law says about committing crime.
It's okay, everybody can go out and commit a crime. Let's commit some crimes. We're not gonna get any time for it. Let's go do this.
My cousin would still be here with her kids if they kept her in jail or not gave her OR.
A release allowing one woman to live her life, only to take away another.
She went to the store that night. On her way back home, she just didn't make it back home.
Harvey pleaded guilty to that charge of voluntary manslaughter, and she'll be up for parole in 2 years. The Nevada Supreme Court requires all courts use that pre-risk assessment tool that deemed Harvey a medium risk. We have repeatedly tried for months to talk to a state Supreme Court justice about this, and our requests have gone unfulfilled. I'm David Charnes, 8 News Now.
We should also mention Aaron Cole, the other defendant that David mentioned in his story, has pled not guilty. He's scheduled to go on trial next year. Right now, you can also read that judge's full statement about why she released Harvey after that first battery and what laws she followed on 8newsnow.com and also inside of our free app. She declined an on-camera interview for David's story.